And along with that, in this book that he talks about, he is focusing on, not just from the psychology perspective, but, this is like a whole meal, like we have this one pot meal. This book actually covers a lot of areas, not just personal growth. It talks about human behaviors to a large extent. And I will just quickly first read out all the rules, quickly what they are in one nutshell, and then I'll take up a few. When we talk about the 12 rules, here they are. The first one he talks about is stand up straight with your shoulders back. The second is treat yourself like you are someone you're responsible for helping. The third one he talks about is make friends with people who want the best for you. Compare yourself. This is the fourth one. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. Fifth one, don't let your child do anything that makes you dislike them. I will repeat the fifth one specifically. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. The sixth one, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Seventh is pursue what is meaningful. Eighth one, tell the truth or at least don't lie. Ninth, assume that the person that you're listening to might know something you don't. 10th one, be precise in your speech. 11th, do not bother children when they are skateboarding. And 12th one, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Now, if you were to look at the overall structure of the book, this is like really lengthy, and an average time that you would take is about close to 10 to 12 hours. This is the time you will need to read this book. While you can do it in bits and pieces, or you can do it at one go over a weekend. Now, there are a couple of things that are, to be spoken about this book. Now, this book wasn't all liked by everybody. There has been absolutely a lot of people who criticized him left, right, center for putting this book out. That's number. I think this is one of the most. This is one of the only books which has a mix of people extreme likes and people extreme dislikes as well. So there are a lot of areas people did not agree to. Absolutely fair. You don't have to. Jordan Peterson is trying to make a point in terms of the overall living that we have. And the first principle he talks about is by the first rule, which is sit up straight, keep your posture right. Now, why is he saying and why is he talking about that? For that, he gives an example of lobsters. Not from an eating perspective, but from the real lobsters, the live lobsters. Similar to humans, and again, I think nature has this element of the dominance across the species. When he gives an example of lobster, he's talking about the dominance and how they behave, how the alpha lobster behaves, and how it affects the other person. Now, in the lobster kingdom, the first thing is lobster are also territorial. As much as a lion is a territorial, as much as an human is territorial. And what a lobster does is, to prove their dominance, there are various levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. The level 4 is the fight ultimately. And how does the fight happen? It happens by they expanding their body. So lobster has this gift by nature that, when it uses its entire dopamine or it uses its entire power, it starts expanding itself. And both of this lobster, when they're competing for a particular space, they just simply expand, 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 expand. And the one who finally is, looking more dominant and more heavier, the other one simply gives up and eventually moves out. Now, the same thing with us also as humans, the same thing in the lion kingdom as well. When you talk about the human elements, people who are generally very confident, people who are very dominant, etc., would have a very straight and a firm body language. And when you look at people who are generally weaker or low confidence, etc., they will try to sloop down. Reminds me of the TED talk by Amy Cuddy. If you have not got the chance till date, please after this session watch that video. Amy Cuddy TED talk on power poses. So she has explained it brilliantly well in terms of how how the body language actually affects us in a day-to-day conversation. So people generally with strong self-esteem, they transmit a sense of security and confidence, which makes them more attractive, more respected, they look more productive. In fact, they are productive. They have a higher self-perception of themselves, greater resilience, happiness, and their pro-social behavior and leadership. While as people with low self-esteem will always feel insecure, they are generally stressed, jumpy, and reactive. So advice here, don't slouch, fix your posture, stand straight. But the second important rule that he talks about is care for yourself like you would care for somebody else. And this is something that we all do by default. Whenever we want to take care of our parents or siblings or our kids, we go out, all the way to ensure, especially when they're not feeling well, we go out all the way and we help them out. But the same thing doesn't apply to us. When it comes to taking care of our own physical, mental health, we tend to delay it. If I were to take you to the airlines announcement, before you put a mask on somebody else in an emergency situation, make sure that you have put your mask first. So that's rule number 2. Care for yourself like you would care for someone else. Rule 3, important one, interesting one. And a lot of times even I talk about it, we are the average of the 5 people that we spend our time with. So look around you. If you think as a person you're not really successful, or if you really don't have any optimistic thoughts, or if you're not really progressive as a person, look around you. You don't have to blame yourself all the time. Humans are primarily social animals, and the way we behave is primarily dependent on who we are surrounded with. You want to change your life, change your surrounding. This is the key message here. So because we become the average of the 5 people, if you spend your time with 5 smart people, you'll be the 6th one in the room. If you spend your time with 5 billionaires, you'll be the 6th one. You spend your time with 5 negative, pessimist people, you will be the 6th one. So self-explanatory, not going to spend much time here. The 4th one, again, much applicable in today's world, especially in the social media, where on LinkedIn, on Facebook, everybody's looking extremely successful. And what happens is, and it's a matter of fact, today, whenever we are achieving something, when we want to share this news, people are in fact become very skeptical of sharing something that they have achieved to others, because there is this tendency of being jealous and trying to put the other person down, or not really being happy. And I'm sure each one of us has experienced that. What Mr. Peterson talks about here is, instead of focusing on what other people are doing or what other people are thinking about you and all of that stuff, think of improvising yourself today. So instead of looking at who somebody else is, today, look at who you were yesterday and how you can be better today. The 5th rule, again applicable, and this comes again from the book that Kavita read, Mindset, in which it talks about parenting. So kids are not really built with social cultural skills. We need to impart that to them. A lot of times as parents, what we do is we tend to actually not take care of the kid by protecting them too much, or teaching them something which we have gone through. What he talks about in rule number 5 is, teach your kids those skills which is necessary for them to survive in the society. So in the process of we praising our kids, sometimes it actually tends to make the kid feel that he knows it all, and tomorrow the same kid will grow up without even paying any attention or any respect to others for what they are and what they do. So here it's all about teaching them the social cultural skills for them to survive. Rule number 6, get your house in order before you criticize others. Obviously, we are the best lawyers for our mistakes and the best judge for somebody else's. The rule is simple. Look at how you can improvise yourself before you advise it to the world. Now, obviously, you must have seen it across social media as well. You must have seen it across other domains as well. A lot of people are very good at advising us on what we should do. However, when it comes to their own life, they are empty inside and they don't have much of their achievements on their own personal life. Rule number 7, focus on higher purpose and not just instant gratification. So it's moving from doing and achieving tasks to focusing on what your real or higher purpose is. Rule number 8, find your personal truth and live it. Obviously, our education, our work at times does not permit us to take the necessary steps that we want to. Maybe somebody wants to focus on building something for themselves, but because they're in the trap of family commitments, their loans, their earnings, they tend to lose out on what they really want. So here it's all about figuring out what you really want to live, what you really want to do, and focus it on. Even if it takes, small steps, go ahead and take it. Rule number 9, learn to be a good listener. My personal favorite. By default, we know a lot of things, but we don't know everything. By being a good listener, there is a huge possibility that you will actually learn something from somebody. Each one of us knows something that the others don't. And I'll quote Mr. Peterson the way it is. Each one of us knows something uh, that others don't. And somebody knows something that you don't. Only if you provoke the person to teach you something, you will learn something from them. It's all about paying a lot of attention, paying actual attention to somebody when they're talking, and learning something new every time you converse with people. Rule number 10, define your problem precisely and make it manageable. Nobody has the time to listen to somebody who's pessimist or somebody who's crying all the time. You need to own your problems. You need to, solve it yourself. In the simple terms, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it piece by piece. So you can't swallow the whole elephant. The elephant here, of course, is talking about one of the biggest problems that we have in our life. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's health, maybe it's our education, any domain. All that matters is how do you manage it step by step, one step at one time. Rule number 11, accept that inequality exists. A lot of times, and today with the social media, we talk about gender equality, we talk about social economic equality. We want to have a world which has no problem. We want to have a world which, is great for all. It's not going to happen. Read this in the afternoon today. There was this absolute stupid news on Facebook that how, the kind of water Nita Ambani drinks and how costly it is. Obviously, these are the news that comes on Facebook. What people don't understand is, yes, if Nita Ambani can spend about 5 lakh rupees on a bottle of water, she's earned it. Let's accept it. So while people look at having the kind of water Nita Ambani has, people don't want to own what she has done to spend that kind of money. In simple terms, you have to understand what you're really good at, what can you do about it, what can you do about your weakness, what can you do about your strengths, and how do you become better than somebody in the industry. Rule number 12, the last one, when it talks about petting a cat while you're on the street, it simply means that even in the most difficult times, even in the most difficult days, there is always something we can be really grateful for. So look for, small happiness that can contribute for you to have a better day. A lot of times people say, I really had a bad day yesterday. No, you didn't had a bad day. We just had a few moments which were bad and you hung up to that bad moment for the entire day. So a lot of times people talk about a bad month, a bad year, bad life. No, it's not bad. Nobody has got a bad life. Nobody's got a really great life and they will never have it throughout. It's about small things. So while you are even in the toughest of the situations, enjoy that small moment. So when you're on the street, enjoy the cat. So that's rule number 12. I will not take all the quotes, but I'll just take a few which I could resonate deeply with. And he says, it's my firm belief that the best way to fix the world is to fix yourself. And one of the most favorite, I think this was the one loved by many people. He says, stop saying those things that make you weak and ashamed. Say only those things that make you strong. Do only those things that you could speak of with honor. And I will repeat, stop saying those things that make you weak and ashamed and say only those things that makes you strong. Do only those things that you could speak with honor. Throughout the book, what Jordan Peterson is trying to make us understand is own yourself in this chaotic world, in this social media world. You have to delve deep inside you to find the solutions that you're looking for. All of them are within us. So that's about the book. Highly recommended. You may not resonate again with all the rules, but yes, must read for you to have a different perspective about a few things. I am done with the book summary here, and I'm going to pause the recording before we proceed with our discussion.